words that you're listening to right now, where are they? Are they in your head? Are they on the computer screen? Are they in my mouth? Where are they? To say that they're somewhere specific.
Okay. Where they are somewhere specific. It's not as if they're all these different places that they can be that you mentioned, that I'm about to mention, at once, okay? There's a clear chronological order in which they go through these different locations, and it's based one-to-one on their material essence and the fact, the requirement, that at all times they must remain material. Okay, they always, at every moment, the word or symbol has to remain material at every moment. And this is why you have a sequencing. So it's not like, hey, it's in all these places, where is it? It's more like, no, it goes from one place to another in a chain of material events, like any material event, like any physical process. And again, people are having problems with my use of the word material. I use it more or less synonymously with physical for various reasons. But anyway, think of it as physical processes. So here's where it is. One, electronic pulses come into my home on a cable. Electronic pulses. Then they're demodulated into digital information in my modem and stored in vast arrays of tiny electromagnets, able to be told what voltages to hold by the miracle of diodes. Okay, so they have a material presence there. Then the modem converts the words to FM to electromagnetic, the pulses, okay, to EMF radiation, to light, because it's a wireless modem and it creates a wireless signal. And so then the words exist in the electromagnetic medium, which again I would call material, but certainly physical. And it's material too, because it's being transmitted by particles. I think that counts as material. Then my laptop digitizes this signal and stores it in, those vast arrays of magnetic settings again. Now my laptop takes some of this data, so it has physical presence there, material presence. My laptop takes some of this data, translates it into electrical pulses, which it sends to a speaker. The speaker converts electrical pulses, okay, it existed physically as electrical pulses, into air pressure pulses. It exists physically then in the air, in terms of the dynamic arrangement of the air. In other words, pulses. My ear converts the pressure pulses into neural pulses, okay, and it has a material presence there. And here is where it might be properly said to finally be a word. We can say that when it's in those mediums that it's not a word, because like the church, it needs a brain to be interpreted as a word to have the full meaning of the concept of word. Fine, that's because we project it out and project it back in. It's kind of like in programming, using a void pointer, creating an object using the void pointer, giving it to some other system where it casts that void pointer back into what it's meant to be, and that's the process of a word. But the word is still material, because you could say that the only copy of this, we have the copies of the word all along the way. You might want to say the only copy that really is a word is the one in the mind. I'm fine with that. But it still is material. All the copies are material, and it remains material, and it's in the mind. 314.
Words, they get us out of the here and now. They help us fall into history. They let us anticipate days that are not yet here.
Okay, I agree with this part. I want to say I agree with this part, okay? So the amazing thing to me is that ignoring facts is so productive, okay? Ignoring facts, like when we say the word apple, and an apple is 55 cents, and you go in and apple's 55 cents, but all apples are different, and some of them are better, and one of them is rotten, and that one's 55 cents, and the other one's 55 cents. We ignore those differences to enable this economy. We take averages and pretend that they apply, and it's funny that it's ironic that this helps us get to truth, that ignoring those facts helps us to get to truth, especially by enabling analytic thought, because this is this is ignoring the facts is what makes the law of identity, apply to a domain where it can be valid over intervals of time and space. If we didn't ignore that and pretend those apples or objects were the same, then we couldn't do all of that. And they're the same in the sense that their patterns can be related, really. 422.
Words are not in the space and time of the other senses. Well, I hope, for whatever it's worth, that some of this makes sense. When we try to ask the question, where and when are words? It's not an ill-conceived question. If the question doesn't make sense, I think this is a good thing to ask, why doesn't it make sense? Is there a whole horizon of intelligibility that's not open to people?
Okay. I put a couple quotes together there, I guess. The one thing about, that they're beyond space and time, I just have to point out that they always are material. They're always in this. They're never out of space and time for the senses. Even internally, when you imagine something, a word, imagine a word, they're generally sonic in nature, right? They're in the sound space. They're like sounds, when the sound isn't coming directly from the senses, it's still that same type, a dream sound. I heard a word in a dream. It's a sound in its basic spatial type. So, but on the rest, well, let me just do what is the last quote. This one really is the last, so this is another thing I can agree with.
To be human is to be a word user, which is to be more than here and now. Okay, hopefully that makes sense.
Okay, I agree with this in a more loose sense than you presented it in this video. Because I do think in a practical sense, using all these approximations is a good thing. The approximations that we call abstractions, when we are so proud of them and we think that they're such a good pattern and a good epitome to use as a measure against reality, as a template. Okay, to sort reality out. When we're really proud of the details we've ignored, we're very proud to say those details don't matter. What we have left is our abstraction. And we're really proud of those, and they work really well. And they do help us go beyond the here and now in some sense. Okay, I think many animals can move beyond the here and now with these kinds of ideas and categories. I think animals are able to categorize, and that's pretty much known. But I think it's a feature of neural networks to be able to do this. But I agree that our species is particularly good at it, and to the degree that an animal is good at this, then they get advantages of a greater ability to remember the past and plan for the future. So I do agree with that, and that it's a useful question. So thanks for asking it. And as you can see, there was much of your video that I repeated here, so it was full of content and questions that need to be answered. I guess I answered them slightly differently than you seem to, but thanks. Cheers.